What is MMA? MMA stands for Mixed Martial Arts. Now, mixed martial arts is a phrase that sort of developed recently because initially it was called No Holds Barred or Vale Tudo in Brazil. And in those days there were very few rules at all. Certainly in the early UFCs, that could be called cage fighting or Vale Tudo. There was no eye gouges, no fish hooks, I think no biting, but pretty much everything else was allowed. So in those days it was a lot more brutal. Now as time's gone on, it's been made more into a sport, and that's partly for public consumption. You know, the public are obviously very concerned about injuries and those sort of things, and as more rules have been introduced, it's made it safer, and it's also undergone a change in name, and now it's called MMA, which stands for Mixed Martial Arts. Those arts discussed elsewhere, but generally a mixture of a striking art and a ground art, perhaps a transitional takedown art as well. But MMA is generally two guys in a cage, anywhere from 5 to 10 minute rounds, and essentially they're allowed to use whatever core art they work with. Although mostly nowadays the guys are fairly rounded. They generally have an art like Muay Thai for stand-up, wrestling for takedowns, and Jiu-Jitsu for the groundwork. It's undergone a huge development over the past few years, and it's now a global phenomenon. And its pay-per-view, I think, exceeds American baseball and basketball and football in the States, so it's actually pretty huge, and it's, I think, the fastest growing sport in the world.